Hello everyone, this is Yoel from Hebrew in Israel. This is my second video up to now. Hope the previous video was interesting. I do understand there was some technical issues with sound, a bit of echoing, but I'm working on it, and hopefully, God willing, everything will be better. When you learn to make these things more and more, it becomes easier. Today I want to talk about a subject which is might offend some people, and I do understand that it's possible that people would be very angry with what I'm about to say. But I want to touch on the subject called Paleo Hebrew and the misconceptions of Paleo Hebrew. First of all, the name itself, Paleo Hebrew. Paleo Hebrew actually means earlier Hebrew, earlier stages of Hebrew, and specifically to do with the alphabet used in Hebrew. Unfortunately, there is a system being pushed in, specifically in the United States, but pushed into people's minds called Paleo Hebrew, where you have symbols, and all these symbols are real, by the way. Nothing's forged about that. All the symbols are real, and the point is that if you read, for example, a word in Hebrew, you actually need to look at the symbols, and based on that, understand what the word actually means. Now, that's all really nice and dandy, but it doesn't really help with the idea of actually understanding a language. Languages are not built like that. Very, very simple. Uh, but let's start off with the history of things. First of all, what's known as used for Hebrew is a system called Paleo Hebrew, which actually uses alphabet. This alphabet that's being pushed is actually called Proto-Sianiatic. It was first discovered in 1904, 1905 in a place called Sarbit el Khadam. Okay? And what they discovered was a alphabetic system, what seemed to be an alphabetic system. It's actually never been fully deciphered. We don't even know if it's Hebrew. And the alphabet itself uses images, pictographs, to imitate the symbol of something, like, for example, a head or an ox head or an eye or a mouth, to represent a sound of a consonant parallel to the way the word is actually said in that specific language. So, for example, if I want to talk about, if I want to use the letter resh, an R sounding letter, and I want to represent with a pictograph, I just draw the symbol of a head, because the word for head in Hebrew is rosh. I'm exaggerating the sound just to make sure that you hear me correctly. Or, for example, if I want to represent the letter Aleph, I would draw a pictograph of an ox head, because another word for ox in Hebrew is the word aluf. The letter Pei, for example, is drawn by an image of a mouth, because it's the word Pe. Also, Pei and Pe is almost the same thing. The letter Ain is represented by an I, which in Hebrew is Ain. Okay, so it's the same exact same sound like the letter Pe, and so on and so forth. The problem is there is no actual proof that this alphabet was used to write the Torah. Okay, the Sabit el-Khadam inscription dates to the 15th century BC. The second inscription was discovered in 1999 in Wadi el-Khul. Again, uses the same kind of alphabet. There are only 2-3 examples of this alphabet. So to build an entire system based on a few examples, which weren't even found inside the land of Israel, doesn't really prove anything. Now, there are a couple of theories exactly how this was all created. In 1916, for example, there was Sir Alan Gardiner who was able to decipher a word, leba'alat, which is considered to be a word that means ashtoret, Ishtar, same thing. And then there were theories that said that, for example, Professor Albright thought it might have been an alphabet that was somehow developed from Hieroglyphic, which I'm not too sure if that's correct, because Hieroglyphic actually uses actual symbols to represent letters, not drawings of things, but it might be connected to hieroglyphs. There's also a professor called Ori Goldwasser who claimed that these might have been free Canaanites that were working in the area and developed their own alphabet imitating the hieroglyphs. Um, So the problem really that stems from this is that if, for example, you want to teach someone a language, but all you're teaching them is, for example, just letters, you're not really teaching them to read anything because languages are built from letters, words, syntax, adjectives, nouns, verbs, etc. Now, even if we say that these letters, these pictographs, can be used to represent an inner meaning to a word, which I don't think there's anything wrong with that because spirituality was part of the everyday life of people. Religion, spirituality, the worship of gods, everything it was all connected. I mean, being alive meant you were religious and had a spiritual world. So there's nothing wrong with trying to find an inner meaning to things, but I think it's exaggerated. But specifically here, it doesn't always work, and I hope to maybe make a video taking some examples, distinct examples, because in some cases it does work, in some cases it doesn't. But if a method's supposed to be 100%, then it should work 100% of the time. But there are many different factors that affect the issue of how to use this system. Because, for example, spelling. Do I spell it this way? Do I spell it that way? Do I have defective spelling where I drop consonants, etc.? So it's kind of difficult to say that back way in the days of the First Temple period when the Torah was given, when they actually used shorthand, shorthand, where they wrote less consonants and avoided filling in letters. If it was possible to drop a letter, they will do it. So it's very difficult, for example, to use the text that we have today of the Torah, for example, or even the way we spell words today to actually use this method to interpret the meaning of words. Words in Hebrew are built on the issue of roots, not on the not on the idea of having some symbol representing a letter. Again, as I pointed out, these might have been Canaanites that just borrowed. Okay, they just borrowed the idea. But even if you study hieroglyphs and ideograms, it doesn't have the same meaning the way people want to explain it. I mean, I'm not an expert in hieroglyphs, but I have some background, and it's very clear that this method is just unfortunately kind of made up. And my point here is not to raise arguments. I did point out that people might be very, very angry with me after this video comes out. I'm not here to undermine your ideas. I'm not here to undermine your thoughts. But from a professional point of view, and yes, I am a professional teacher of the Hebrew language, it just doesn't fit. It just doesn't work. Um, but essentially, if you want to understand the Hebrew language, you need to learn the alphabet, you need to learn words, you need to learn how these words connect to one another, like any other language. I hope this video has been informative for everyone. Um, I am quite convinced I'll receive some remarks and comments from people, but I highly recommend do your own research. I mean, seriously, you just can do Wikipedia and discover the background of this alphabet called Proto-Sianiatic, not Paleo Hebrew, Proto-Sianiatic. That's what it's really called. That's what's called in the academic world. It's possible that it was derived, that the other alphabets were derived from this maybe first alphabet in the world, but it doesn't mean the Torah was written in this alphabet. Everyone enjoy these videos. If you have any suggestions for videos, you can send me an email on hebrewinisrael@gmail.com. You can also interact with me on Facebook, Hebrew in Israel. Um, and if anyone has any ideas, send them over and I'll see if I can make a video about them. Thank you.